Welcome to the Augusta Sports Report, hosted by Chad Cook. For more information on what we talk about today, visit AugustaBball.com.
Welcome to the Augusta Sports Report with Chad Cook. It's episode 5. Thank you for joining us. If you've seen it before, thank you for returning. If this is your first time, hopefully you'll be a return viewer next week. You know, we're excited. It's been a lot of basketball so far. We're going to keep that going. We're also going to touch on a little bit of football today. We're going to try to get more and more into football, wrapping up the season. Signing days coming up. Some all-star events are coming up. We're going to talk about one of them today with our special guest, Glen Mayo with Lineage of Champions. Lineage of Champions is a community asset, a community treasure, in my opinion. All the different things they do for youth, for young people in sports, basketball and football. It's just, a decades-long run that the Lineage of Champions has had, and Glen's a key component of that effort. We'll be talking to him in a little while after we go through some programming notes. And so those programming notes, we do it every week. We talk about what's been going on in sports locally and what's coming up in sports locally. Like I said, we'll get to some football in episodes ahead, but right now it's basketball season and we're excited about that. So we're going to start with the best basketball in town like we did last week. Augusta University, the number 10 ranked Jaguars, 7-0. Beat Allen University Saturday, 126-39, an 87-point victory, something I've never seen pretty much at any level. And, that's an outlier. The Jags don't always win by 87, but that was their latest win to go 7-0. And here's a little bit about Augusta University just to bring you up to speed if you haven't seen them. First of all, they play Saturday against Coastal Georgia at 4 p.m. at home. Come see the Jags. You won't regret it. Then they play again Monday at 7:30 against Payne College, an old-time rival, local rivalry. That'll be Monday at 7:30. So come see the Jags in person so you can witness the number 10 ranked Division II team in the country. Dip Mitris, I want to say he's in his 25th year as head coach, best coach I know. And just a little bit about the Jags. The Jags are shooting 52% from the field. You don't see basketball teams shoot 52% from the field. The Jags are shooting 44% from the three-point line. You don't see that either. So those are offensive statistics. Now, on the other end, only one team out of 7 so far has broken the 70-point barrier against Augusta. That was the second game of the year, Barton College. Now, we won that game 100-79, so everybody else has been under 70. You don't see a lot of college teams holding to teams to that low level of scoring, and our guys are just elite in a lot of ways. I'll try to show you a little bit of that, and let's start with, we're going to run through 3 videos to familiarize you with Augusta University before we get to the high school action. First of all, Ja'Queze Kirby, prize freshman sensation from Jeff Davis High School in Hazelhurst, Georgia. He was a household name in high school circles all throughout the last few years. I remember the Butler High School coach, the Jones County High School coach, guys telling me left and right, the Glen Hills High School coach telling me, there's this sophomore at Jeff Davis, you got to see Ja'Queze Kirby. Well, I didn't know we would eventually see him in a Jaguar uniform, but I'm sure glad we have. And so 7 games in, he's already stacking the highlights up. We're going to show you an incredible dunk off the glass from Darren Lucas White in a really sweet drive where he pumps it, finishes with 2 hands after driving baseline. This is, Augusta's great. They're always great, but they haven't had a guy do some of these things in quite a long while. Maybe A.J. Bowman was the last athlete, 6'6", wing-type athlete of Ja'Queze Kirby's nature. Okay, now that we've looked at Ja'Queze, let's take another look. We've done it in past weeks. Let's take another look at Tyshaun Crawford, the 7'1" junior, transferred from Georgia Southern 3 years ago. We've documented it here. He's lost 50 pounds since coming. He's developed his game so much. The lefty, you'll see him in these clips. You'll see him using good footwork. You'll see him turning over his right shoulder with his dominant left hand to make a jump hook and turning over his left shoulder with his weak right hand making a jump hook. And of course, you'll see him blocking shots and performing what I call Shaq dunks, where he's flat-footed in the paint, gets a rebound, gathers himself, and just dunks on whoever is in the vicinity. So that's Tyshaun Crawford. Tyshaun's shooting, he's shooting over 60% from the field. He's averaging 15 points and 8 rebounds. Incredible player. You don't see a lot of 7'1" centers with this kind of game at the Division II level. So now let's take a look at Tyshaun. And coming back, the third look is at the perimeter shooting of the Jaguars. Now, I want to go way in depth with this at a later date. I want to get Coach Demetris, some of the players, to tell us about what makes us a great three-point shooting team. I mentioned it earlier. We're shooting 42% from the three-point line. No, I'm sorry. I think it's 44% from the three-point line. That's uncommon. Teams don't shoot that level from the three-point line. Now, in the game Saturday against Allen, we missed our first 3, and then we made 9 of our next 10. It's uncommon. Miguel Arnold himself during that stretch made 6 out of 7 from 3. Miguel Arnold in the first game, he missed his first 4 three-pointers, which you don't see from Miguel very often. And then in the rest of the game, he made 9 of 11. So he finished 9 of 15, had 30 points in the season opener. Miguel Arnold shooting 55% from three-point range. He's our leading scorer. He's a heck of a shooter and a heck of a player. And then guys like Troy Cracknell, Tyree Myers, John Whitehead the third, and even Ja'Queze Kirby. Those guys can fill it up from deep. David Vitti as well, a transfer from Georgia Southern. So we've got it all. We've got the big center in the post. We've got the slashing freshman sensation in Ja'Queze Kirby, and we've got this three-point onslaught, which we'll give you a look at right now from the Allen game when we made 9 out of 10 in a span of about 10 minutes to open up the game. So again, come check out Augusta University Saturday at 4 against Coastal Georgia and Monday at 7:30 against Payne College. On the when we get to January, Peach Belt action will start. The games will get really tough. They'll be on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Wednesdays at 7:30, Saturdays at 3:30. You got to come to Christenberry. Watch the best basketball in town, Augusta University. Now, let's get to high school basketball. I'm going to talk about some of the teams that have been performing very well, and also what's coming up, what you can go out and see from these high school teams coming up in the next week or so, basically before the Christmas break. And so the team that I want to dive deep into today is Westside. Westside's 5-0. They're ranked number 2 in Class 2A by Kyle Sandy. We had him on the show 2 weeks ago. Now, Westside's 5-0. Every win has come against a team that was ranked in the top 10 in the preseason. Peach County was ranked number 7 in 3A, beat them in the opener. Jones County is ranked, I think it's number 8 in Class 5A, beat them handily at Augusta University. Evans was ranked number 9 in Class 6A coming into the season. Westside beat them twice, most recently this past Saturday. I think it was 64-61 at Evans. And then Westside also beat Augusta Christian, who's not ranked because they're not a Georgia High School Association team. They're a private school that plays in the South Carolina Private School League, but they're as good as anybody except for maybe a team or two, and Westside also beat Augusta Christian. So 5 quality wins in 5 tries. This team is really, really exciting to watch. I mean, it's a highlight factory. It's a little bit of, nobody will remember this reference, but a little Phi Slamma Jamma from the Houston Cougars days with Clyde Drexler and Hakeem Olajuwon. And they'll do that, but they also just have skill players excellent players. So I'm going to go through their starting five because every one of them fits together like a glove, and they really form a cohesive unit that's very fun to watch. So we'll start with the point guard, sophomore DeMarco Middleton. Marco is a good player. He'll do it all. He'll steal the ball. He'll block a shot. Even though he's like 5'11", he'll block a shot in transition. He's got great instincts, and he will also, distribute the ball. And that's the thing that has impressed me most. When you have a lot of talented players, you need a guy who's looking to pass first, and that's what Marco does. And he'll also, there's a saying in football, pass a guy open. Marco will see a guy and kind of lead him with the pass, and we'll show a clip of that in the middle of these next few clips. We'll show him leading William Baker to an open layup with his vision and intelligence, with Marco's vision and intelligence as a player. So he's a good player at point guard. Okay, now on to AuMauri Tillman, Mr. Electricity out there. In the first game against Peach County, he went nuts. Scored 32 points, dunked it 2 or 3 times, made a bunch of threes. He was all over the place. The talk of Jones County that day in Middle Georgia for the Hoopin' in Middle Georgia event. And AuMauri, a junior, 6'1" or so, maybe 6 foot, 5'11", but he can fly and he can shoot and he can fill it up. Now, after that game, he missed 3 games with a sprained ankle, came back against Augusta Christian, and he wasn't quite as explosive that game, probably nursing that ankle. But what he did, in addition to scoring 2 big buckets in overtime to kind of put them over the top, he scored 12 points. But what he did that game that really caught my eyes, he had 6 assists. So in a game where, maybe he's a little bit hobbled, he's still drawing attention from the defense, and he's using that attention to distribute the ball and get other guys shots. So with AuMauri and Marco in the backcourt, it's a deadly backcourt, especially when we haven't even gotten to the front court yet, which it forms that kind of Phi Slamma Jamma type setups. Okay, now the Westside front court is absolute electricity. You throw AuMauri Tillman, who we just looked at, into this mix. You got 4 guys that play above the rim. Jalexs Ewing off 2 feet he's just a pogo stick. And so you'll see several examples of that coming up, but he's also a real competitor. He distributes the ball well, he rebounds, he gets to the free throw line. There was a stretch against Augusta Christian when they went down 13-0, and it looked like the Lions were going to run away with it, and Jalexs started getting to the free throw line constantly. He made, I want to say, 6 or 7 free throws in the first quarter and kept Westside in the game, and Westside eventually came back and won. Now, and there's also a play in there, and watch for it in there, when he forced overtime. Somebody was talking to me about the play, and they said that wasn't a very a good basketball play because he kind of fumbles it around and stuff. And I told him that was a we need a bucket play. So he started kind of fumbling the ball, and he kind of lost control of it a little bit. So he ends up just kind of throwing it out in front of him towards the hoop, and then he runs it down, fouls the guy who's guarding him, no call. Refs swallow their whistle at the end of a game. We all know that. Jalexs knew it. Gives a solid elbow to the defender, runs the ball down, scores it at the rim. My point here is Jalexs is a competitor. I've been watching him. I first started seeing him on the AAU circuit last year. Our guest in a second, Glen Mayo, will probably have good things to say about him as well. Now, Khalon Hudson, if I had to say one guy who has played the best basketball in town so far this season, it's either Khalon Hudson or Franquan Sherman from Grovetown. Khalon's been great. He's great in the mid-range, out to about 18 feet. He's money in the bank when he gets squared up and takes that shot. But what's really uncommon about what he does is his relentless rebounding. In 2 straight games, he had, in one game against Jones County, he had 28 points and 15 rebounds. And then the next game against Augusta Christian, he had 29 points and 13 rebounds. He is relentless on both sides of the court on the glass. He turns offensive rebounds into points, much like Franquan Sherman, who I mentioned a second ago. Khalon's great. He also plays above the rim. He blocks shots. He's a junior, 6'5" junior. And now we'll finish it out with William Baker. Talk about a pogo stick athlete. This guy's a highlight reel waiting to happen. And, maybe the most impressive thing from what we're about to show you is the dunk that he barely missed when Khalon Hudson saves it, throws it up into the air, and out of nowhere comes William Baker, who almost throws it down. You'll see it in the clip. He got fouled on the play. It was Sports Center top 10 type clip waiting to happen. Okay, so that's your Westside Patriots, number 2 in Class 2A. That was the feature team for this week. Now let's run through what's coming up before we get to our interview with Glenn. So Westside, we just mentioned them. They're going to play Butler on December 17th, Friday. Don't miss that game. That game is at Westside. Butler's number 4 in Class 2A. Westside's number 2 in Class 2A. It's a region game. It's a state title implication type game. These teams are probably going to play each other at least 3 times this season, I would guess. 2 dynamite teams. I didn't break down Butler position by position today, but I could, and you would be impressed. Kadar Bodie, Chance Finklin, Kendrell Glanton, just a ton of players on that team. You'll be able to cut the tension in at Westside's gym with a knife that night. Westside versus Butler, December 17th. Don't miss it. Trust me on that one. Okay, some other teams who have been just really good. Grovetown 7-1. Their one loss comes to a private school, a high-powered private school in Atlanta. 7-1. They beat North Augusta last Tuesday. They're going to play them again tonight. I'm taping this on a Tuesday. You'll probably see it on a Wednesday at the earliest, but Grovetown will get a shot at North Augusta again, number 7 in the state of South Carolina, Class 4A. They'll get a shot at them tonight, try to make it a sweep on consecutive Tuesdays against North Augusta. North Augusta's good. I'll get to them in a second. And then also they'll go to the Lemon Street Classic December 18th, play Langston Hughes. Speaking of the Lemon Street Classic, Evans, which has dropped a couple games to Westside so far this year. The next ranked team they'll play is at the Lemon Street Classic. They'll play number 9 from Class 6A, Lanier. They beat Lanier in the same event last year, so December 18th, that'll be a matchup that's worth keeping track of as well. Now, I mentioned Grovetown a second ago. I forgot to say that this Saturday, what will that be? December 11th, Saturday, December 11th at Grovetown, 7:30 p.m. Number 5 Thompson from Class 3A will come to Grovetown. Heavyweight battle. Grovetown's huge and they're good. The kind of most ridiculous thing that I can say about rankings, and who cares? We don't get them all right, and maybe I'm wrong, but Grovetown should be ranked. Goodness gracious, that team should be ranked. It's a great squad. Well, they're going to be playing number 5 Thompson, hosting them. Number 5 from Class 3A Thompson. They're going to host them this Saturday. That'll be a great one. And then Thompson, 1 week later, Saturday, December 18th, will go to Warren County, which is ranked number 7 in Class 1A. That is a bloodthirsty rivalry, Thompson versus Warren County. I want to be at that one so bad. I'm going to do my best to do that. But that same night, Augusta Christian is playing defending state champion in the South Carolina Private School League, Trinity. Trinity beat Augusta Christian in the semifinals of the state playoffs last year. So that game is going on December 18th as well. Augusta Christian also will face Keenan, a dynasty of South Carolina high school basketball. They'll play them Thursday in the Bojangles Classic this Thursday. So that's December 9th. That's a showdown. Bojangles Classic is a brand name invitational, so you'll want to check that out. And then before I move on, I want to talk about, mention real quick, Cross Creek, number 6 in Class 3A, dynamite squad. They've only lost 1 all year. That was to Butler. No shame in that. Cross Creek beat Laney last Friday in an exciting game. Antoine Lorick, the 6'6" junior, had 23 points. Cross Creek's a really good team. By the way, in that game, James Nipper for Laney had 36. He's been he's been really good so far this year. He's a senior. Hopefully we'll be able to feature him real soon. So Cross Creek will play, they'll play Laney again this Friday. They'll host Laney, and then also they will play number 7. They'll go to number 7 North Augusta, Class 4A, South Carolina. They'll go to North Augusta next Tuesday. That's the 8th. Oh, goodness. That's the 14th, December 14th. Okay, so I haven't gotten to girls basketball. I'll touch on that real quick. Mentioned Cross Creek. They beat Laney, a battle of teams who have been winning state championships in the last several years. Beat Laney 60-40. Michaela Bogans, I've said it on this on this show before. She's, in my opinion, the best player in the area. She's only a 10th grader. She was dynamite in that game against Laney. A lot of people have been talking about her. Josie, number 2 in Class 2A, went to number 1 at Elbert County, lost, I think it was 59-56. I can't imagine how exciting that game was. They call that place the Inferno. Coach Jawan Bailey had his team ready to play to be able to compete and make it a close one against the number 1 team in the state in their gym. And, that, I guess, last thing on girls hoops, by the time you see this, you'll be able to go to AugustaSportsReport.com and check out Tuesday night's coverage of Augusta Christian versus Bullock Academy, 2 very good private school teams. Augusta Christian doesn't just play good boys basketball, they play good girls basketball as well. I'm going to feature that game Tuesday night, Augusta Christian versus Bullock. It's in Statesboro, Georgia, and so you can check that out on the site. And then the last thing before we move on will be, South Carolina basketball. It kind of started last week. They start a little later than Georgia basketball, and I'm going to be hitting as much of that as I can. I already hit the North Augusta game against, Dutch Fork last Friday. It was exciting. Elijah Hall, a guard for North Augusta, scored 13 points to lead the Yellow Jackets, and AuMauri Wilcher added 12. It's a good team, this North Augusta team. They're number 7 in the state. So I want to keep track of them some more. They've got some high-power games coming up against Grovetown, Cross Creek. We'll see what they're made of. Fox Creek is 7-1 to start the season. They'll be playing Augusta Christian. They'll be hosting them Monday, December 13th. That'll be a great test for Fox Creek. Good luck, Predators, because Augusta Christian is good. And in Midland Valley, Silver Bluff, even Wagner Sally and Ridge Spring Monetta, some of these smaller schools, I'm going to be trying to get to as much of those games as possible. So if you're in the Palmetto State, in this area, be on the lookout for AUGB ball hitting your gym soon. And so as we exit high school basketball, exit our programming notes portion of the show, we're gonna cut to some visuals, and then when we come back, we'll have Glen Mayo of Lineage of Champions with us. He's going to talk about the CSRA All-Star Bowl football games. He's going to talk about the Select 60 Invitational in basketball. He's going to talk about the Lineage of Champions AAU circuit and invitationals, and he's going to talk about the social media coverage that Lineage of Champions has been providing, much like I do, from the high school football and high school basketball games throughout the year this year. But what we're going to do first is we're going to cut to what it looked like Friday night. So I'm standing at North Augusta, and my buddy Seth Wesley from Fourth Take Films sends me a video, and he was nice enough to populate the AUG B-Ball account with action from Laney versus Cross Creek last Friday. He sends me a video, and it's of the national anthem being played at Laney before the Cross Creek doubleheader. So this is before the girls' game. You can't find a seat in that building. Now there's a section that's bare, and somebody will probably point that out. Well, that's where the cheerleaders go. They were not seated at the moment, but every other seat was taken, and the cheerleaders took those seats right after this video was taken. That's before the girls' game. It was packed at Laney, and so I posted and I said, Augusta's a basketball town, and if you know what I know, that's true. And so you'll see that, and then you'll also see the best player intros in town. North Augusta, where I was, they take down the lights. The student section brings out their cell phones with the flashlights on, and they play that old Chicago Bulls music and introduce the starting lineups, and it's electric. So we're going to give you a taste of that so you can see what you're missing if you're not going to these high school basketball games. And we're going to give you a taste of that so you can hopefully go to those games, and then for goodness sake, go watch Augusta University, our first topic of the day. Can't get better basketball than that. And so let's cut to that video, and then on the other side, we'll have Glen with us.
Number 1, AuMauri Tillman. At another guard position, a junior. Number 4, Yes, sir. At the forward position, Hudson. Number 15, Khalon. And at another forward position, number 22, Your Yellow Jackets are coached by Tony. Let's play ball.
Okay, now we're back as promised with Glen Mayo of Lineage of Champions. If I keep saying that name, if you might know it more by the name of the owner, the founder of the company, Damian Key. He's a kind of like a silent hero around here with all the things he does for our young people, and it doesn't get publicized. He doesn't want any publicity. I asked him to come on the show, and he sends Glen, which we're very happy to have Glen. But I just wanted to say Damian's name because he's an old friend of mine, and I just can't be prouder of a friend and everything he does for our community. So with Lineage of Champions, before we get into that, Glen, you recently were the head coach at USC Salkehatchie, both men's and then before that women's team. That's a junior college. You guys have had a great run. You've had several players from this area at Salkehatchie, like Ahmad Rand. Yeah, Ahmad Rand and Mardrez McBride and all kinds of guys. And everybody knows them who's watching. They know them well. But let's talk real quick, about junior college basketball. When I was a kid, I actually, until I was age 11, I grew up in a town called Kankakee, Illinois, and I used to go to the Kankakee Community College JUCO games, and they were a nationally relevant program. And, the honest truth is I haven't seen a JUCO game since I was 11 because there's not one here. And, I go to the high school games and the Augusta University games. And so I just haven't been out to see it in all that time. But I know about the quality of play. And so just give us a little taste of what JUCO basketball is like.
I'm a JUCO lifer. It's kind of all I've known to this point. And junior college basketball is special. It's very similar to your traditional AAU or something like that, but on steroids, and it's a real deal. When I was a junior college head coach, one thing I used in the recruiting pitch is that it's a stepping stone. For kids that you don't want to go into a classroom with 100 people. You want to do something similar to what you were used to with your high school. Junior college fits that mold, and then also, with the transfer portal the way it is now and kids getting overlooked and, under-recruited, it's a good chance for, kids that have that extra year or two after high school to give themselves a chance to get bigger and better, or in some cases, even their only offer. While taking college classes, working towards a degree. I think, that's the unique approach about junior college as opposed to prep school or something like that. Everyone argues that, you don't lose your year or something if you go to prep school. But as well as I do, a lot of these prep schools are fly-by-night, and, you're not working towards a degree. You're essentially just kind of wasting time and just working at basketball. And, the good thing about junior college, especially USC Salkehatchie, you're coming there and you're part of like a university. You could get a 4-year degree from our junior college. You could only play sports for 2 years, but JUCO, just like I said, it provides that platform for kids to come, prove themselves at the college level, work towards a college degree, and then hopefully get, bigger and better offers that, transcends their, game to the next level, gets them to a bigger and better place, and, provides that, that level of opportunity that they're looking for.
At one time, it was kind of like, okay, JUCO is where you go when you don't make your grades. I'm not sure it was ever actually like that, but that was what we would think and say, especially like as I was growing up 20-some years ago. I don't think it's that way anymore. Like most of the guys are qualifiers, right?
Right. It's definitely taken a change. 20 years ago, you didn't have the transfer portal, so you didn't have a lot of guys that were overlooked and under-recruited. And then now, even look at the last 2 years with COVID, they're doing away with test scores, the ACT and SAT. So it's almost hard not to qualify as long as you got your GPA and you graduate. So it's kind of gotten to the point where you can get the qualifiers, you can get the underlooked guys. Like guys really say, okay, maybe, I've got 5 Division II offers and, 2 or 3 Division I interests, but not offers. Maybe instead of settling right now, if I go to a junior college, kind of, roll the dice, bet on myself a little bit, then, turn some of those D1 interests into offers and, bounce up. So,
yeah. And just before we move on to the lineage of champions stuff, to really put a bow on the junior college experience, let's take a look at Salkehatchie, and maybe you can run down, our local guys who have moved on, where they've gone. I know Ahmad, for instance, is at Oregon State playing in the Pac-12, I think, right now.
Right.
And many other guys. But then there's also like, you sent a guy to St. John's, and then I'll fill in the blanks with maybe one more. But to set it up, South Carolina is not a hotbed for JUCO. If I'm not mistaken, it's Florida, Texas, and Kansas.
Right.
And up in the Midwest, there's good JUCO. And there's good JUCO here, too. But, like, you're going to name some players and some places that they've gone, players, a lot of them from our area, that went through Salkehatchie and then went to great 4-year institutions. And I only set it up when I say South Carolina, JUCO's not a hotbed, not to insult it, but just to say, even if you're not in one of the brand name states, you're still, you can use it as that stepping stone like you talked about.
Absolutely. Since, it started when me and Jake Williams kind of went to Salkehatchie, that, Augusta became a hotbed for us. We really, love the players here. Obviously, a lot of the events that Damian Key provided is where we saw a lot of those guys, but you got, like you mentioned, Ahmad Rand, Lincoln County, ended up playing, a year for Penny Hardaway at Memphis, and now he's at Oregon State. Madrez McBride played at Butler. I still tell a story, all the time. I remember, going to talk with Coach Body and going to a Butler game, and, they said, that was the only school coach that had came and watched a high school game that year. And, now he's, one of the best mid-major programs in the country. They made the NCAA tournament last year. He's starting. They won a game, so – it's just, this area is a hotbed. Even before that, the Marquis Sumners, that we ended up going on to Stetson and having a good career. And, even other guys, like, we recruited the Trey Gamillion kid who didn't necessarily come to USC Salkehatchie, but went and played for Bruce Capers at Gordon State. And, now he's one of, considered probably the top 20 mid-major players in the country. Yeah. And, same type of deal. I've said – arm in arm with Division I coaches while he was in high school here in Augusta, and we don't know what position he is or this and that, but these kids around here, they really they play with a chip on their shoulder, they really work hard, and they've kind of bought into the fact that junior college isn't the end all be all, that you can go there, you can invest in yourself, you can work on your craft, and you can eventually end up getting to where you want to go, and that JUCO provides that for them.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it's a good segue to go from JUCO to the Select 60 event about a month or two ago. Lineage of Champions, you and Damian put on a unique event and a better event than all others like it, in my opinion. So the Select 60, break it down for us. Who... The kinds of players who were invited, and then their coaches at the event, so unique. The built-in scouting report type situation. Damian and Lineage of Champions providing all kinds of gear and special stuff. That event was one of a kind and so special. Break down that event for us.
First and foremost, hats off and shout out and all the praise to Damian Key. That was a totally a give back event. Everything that went into it was completely free for the student athletes that attended. But it was just a really good event because he got basically the best players in the area, invited them all for free, got them all to come. Like you said, had gear for all of them, wanted to, treat them to a first-class experience and give them the opportunity. I think it was at Riverview, so, same place where Peach Jam is played. Like, give them an opportunity, give them the stage to go out there and show what they can do, because as big as this area is and as much talent as there is in this area, it is grossly under-recruited. There should be no reason Salkehatchie got a lot of the players that they got, to be honest. And so, what made that event so great is that there was no charge to the kids. It had representation from all throughout the CSRA, plus he invited some outside, talent to kind of juice it up some to, give them something to play for. I know that people get kind of bored playing against the same people all the time. And then the coaches at that event, every coach that coached the team was a college head coach. So, that aspect, you're getting coached by a coach that could recruit you. And then you're getting coached by, coaches that you're either going to play for or play against. So the stuff that they're trying to instill when they get there, they're going to use that day and put it in. So kids, got a lot of knowledge, from firsthand from head coaches. And then, you really get a different feel for a kid when you're coaching them rather than just sitting in the stands recruiting them. And so, I think that, will go a long way in a lot of these kids' recruitment going forward. And then, he had, I don't know, at least 5 to 10 different scouting services there that, each one had to write reports. Each one had to, did the social media thing. So, pretty much if you were at that event, you got some type of recognition, you've got some type of notoriety, and most importantly, you got your chance to prove that, you can go play at the next level. And man, that was, from the referees to the food that was provided to everything being for free. Like you said, that was one of the best events that I've ever been a part of anywhere. But, for it to be right here in Augusta and, from a local guy like Damian who's been doing this 20 years and, like you said, gets no notoriety, gets no recognition, doesn't want it, but to, provide that was really special.
Yeah, one story from that, I walk in and I couldn't believe what I saw, so I started talking to Damian and asking him questions, and he said, well, what happens is, we run all these AAU programs and tournaments, and, we're involved with all these players. But then there's also many players from this area who don't play for the Southern Kings or play in Lineage of Champions events, and that's fine. And he doesn't, they play for whoever you want to play for and go wherever you want to go. But at some point, every year, he told me that at some point, a lot of players end up coming to him and saying, I'm not being recruited. Right. Can you help me out? And he says it's usually like late in their senior year. And it's at a point in time where he really can't do much. Even though Damian has coaches at all his events and he's got connections everywhere, none of us can just pick up the phone and say, hey, give this guy a scholarship. And so he can do a lot, but he can't do everything at the snap of a finger. So he told me, this is a way for me to try to get ahead of things, try to give everybody the opportunity. Now, if you didn't come, you didn't come. That's your fault. But you were invited. If you're a great player, you were invited. And give everybody an opportunity to come and be in front of, be coached by these college head coaches, most of them junior college head coaches. Now Damian said, the first thing somebody will say is, well, it's only junior college. It's not Division II, not Division I. First of all, they can't. The Division I guys surely can't come coach you in an event like that. I don't think the Division II guys can either.
NCAA has that on wraps.
Exactly. But like he said, it was a great point. He said all these junior college coaches have text message strings going with Division I and Division II coaches. They have phone numbers and contacts constantly. So if they see a player who's a great player and fits better at the Division I level or the Division II level than the JUCO level, first thing they're going to do is send them to a coaching friend of theirs. And, because all that comes back, a guy wants to transfer, he goes to your junior college. A guy wants to, the network is, Damian's basically leveraging his network work to give people an opportunity to play, and then on top to show themselves and get opportunities. And on top of that, it's for free. You're decked out in gear. We're going to show some images and video clips from that event. Before we move on to some of the other topics, tell us a few names of local players that stood out at that event.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, loaded with the talent. I mean, there's at least 70, 80 kids there. Obviously Elijah Crawford at Augusta Christian has really been blowing up. I think they won the 15 UP Jam this year. The Westside guys that you mentioned earlier have, Khalon, Hudson, the Jalexs Ewings, a lot of really, really good talent, and, a lot of good talent for the level of coaches that came. You know what I mean? Because, you look at the Madrez McBrides and the Trey Gamillions and the Marquis Sumners, they all ended up playing Division I, but it took a while to get there, and then they played at a mid-major or lower level. So, I mean, it wouldn't do us any good to have, Kentucky in here, because they're not
getting Monty Bates in the gym.
Right, you know what I mean? So we had the level of coaches in here for the level of kids that would actually benefit them. So I think that was huge.
Yeah. So, we'll pivot kind of hard here into, and it just kind of shows the breadth and diversity of what Lineage of Champions brings to our area. We'll pivot hard into high school football. What is it, the 9th year for the CSRA All-Star Bowl?
Yes, ninth year.
Yeah. And it's funny, I was somewhere and I was talk about diversity of events. I was at the Westside versus Augusta Christian basketball game, and Seth Wesley, who does a lot of work with me for AUGB ball, but also does a lot of work with Lineage of Champions with Independent Hoops and LOC. He was in the gym and, covering the high school basketball game. And the WJBF, Colin Cody, great television sports personality, he's like, oh, see, you have Seth here today. Both of y'all are on the same event. I said, no, actually, I'm doing AUGB ball. He's doing LOC and Independent Hoops. And he, goodness, I almost lost, I think I'm losing my train of thought, but, it's so much to talk about. But anyway, so Seth's there, and he's covering high school basketball after a long season of covering high school football for Lineage of Champions every Friday night, putting highlights up of local players. And the whole point of that was to provide coverage and get the word out about the CSRA All-Star Bowl. Oh, and here, back to my train of thought. So the WJBF guy, Colin Cody, says, oh yeah, they do have a football game. That's been going on for a couple years, right? Well, the truth is that thing's been going on for 9 years, and for 1 or 2 years longer than the Border Bowl, which, WJBF puts on. So I educated him on that. WJBF actually copied off the CSRA All-Star Bowl. How long have you been involved with the event? Tell us about the week of practices, the game day, the age groups. If you're a high school football player or one who wants to play in an all-star game, you got to be good. You got to be, qualified for the event. There's still time to sign up, right? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, the All-Star Bowl week is one of the coolest, things I think that happens here in Augusta. Like you said, Damien started it, roughly 9 to 10 years ago, before the Border Bowl came about. And the Border Bowl gets a lot of, support from the community with the papers and the news station and stuff like that. But Damien just provided an unreal opportunity for these kids to just have one more chance to kind of showcase what they can do, one more chance to play it out with their friends and their family and stuff. And it's live streamed, so family out of town can watch it. It's also good for film, another chance for these kids to get filmed, to send out to get recruited. But, it's an all week long thing. Kids start practicing, I think on Sunday before the event at Patriots Park.
December 12th or 13th.
Yeah, December 12th right? is when it starts. And the game will be December 18th, and they're doing it at Augusta Christian this year. I've been involved at least 5 years now, and it's kind of been at a couple different spots. But just to see, the platform it provides, and then to see how it's grown. I think when, he first started out, it was just a Senior Bowl, and then, then comes the Border Bowl, and they've got their stuff. So, Damien's all about creativity. He's all about, staying ahead of the curve. So he's like, let's get a Junior Bowl going and an Underclassmen Bowl. And then I think now we've even got the Middle School Bowl going. And, it's grown to such a great deal. You're looking, he's got 4 different games that'll go on December 18th. For $10, you can get in and kind of watch the whole thing. And even that, I don't think he's charging an entry to get in. He's just asking the kids to pay for their jersey or something. So, I mean, just top to bottom, an unreal deal, well put together, super organized. I think each game is going to have, upwards of 50 to 60 kids. So you're looking at, 2 teams of 30 in each age group. And again, representation from everyone in the CSRA. Everyone, every school is going to have representation there. And then you're going to have local high school coaches coaching the game that, know these kids, have a relationship with them, know, how to play them and what's best for them. So just an unbelievable event, super, super fun, super cool, right here in Augusta Christian, December 18th. I mean, it's going to be a fun time.
Yes, and if I know you've been out at the high schools talking to coaches, getting guys signed up. If somebody is maybe either hasn't signed up or didn't know about it or whatever, and they want to play, they want to put their name in the hat for consideration. Is there like a website that they can hit?
Yeah, for sure. We're working on getting rosters out now, so obviously the quicker you get signed up, the better. But if you go online, our website is allstarbowlweek.com, CSRA allstarbowlweek.com. And there, I mean, it's a great website. You'll see some coverage that we did of local guys, like you said, on social media, and that we put on there. You'll see the event schedule as far as practice times, locations, addresses. Get signed up this week if you haven't. Get yourself nominated. Get yourself signed up. And, we look forward to a great week of practice next week. And then December 18th, I'm excited for these games.
All season long, I get direct messages from local athletes, hey, come to our game. I know Seth gets it on behalf of Independent Hoops and Lineage of Champions. Come to our game, feature us. Play in this game, and you'll get featured by Lineage of Champions. You'll get, as long as you make some plays. Independent Hoops, AUG B-Ball. We'll all be there having a blast, featuring one of the community's most exciting events, most helpful events. It's a community outreach. It's a community asset. And we, we'll be there featuring you, might interview you, and, just get out there and be a part of it. Now, so we've talked about the Select 60 and the CSRA All-Star Bowl Week. We've talked about the social media coverage from the Lineage of Champions and IndependentHoops.com or Independent Hoops. The other thing I want to touch on before we go, we've also talked about junior college basketball. That was fun. Before we go, I want to touch on the AAU circuit, the invitationals. Damian, oh man, what was it? Probably 2005 or 6 when we had the first icebreaker, and the Peach State came about a couple years after that. And those 2 events are mainstays in the Southeast. The Icebreaker Invitational, I'm going to want you to give us a date on that. If you already know the Peach State, and by the way, if you don't have it, end of March, I think, but Peach State Summer Showcase, those are brand name events. Those are, high school age AAU events that are must attend events for anybody that's watching this that plays AAU basketball. But then there's the NYBL that has grown into an incredible middle school / younger age high school circuit. And just Damian's always got something going on with AAU basketball that's high quality. So give us a rundown of what we can look forward to this spring and summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, first coming up is Icebreaker in March. The dates I have to get, I know it's like third weekend of March, something like that. But just an unreal event. It's not during a live period, so Division I or Division II coaches can't come out, but you'll have a lot of junior college, a lot of NAIA coaches there.
A lot of media coverage.
And a lot of media coverage. That's, when it's not a live period and coaches can't come out, that's what Damian tries to do. Is, same way he recruits these teams to come, he's going to make sure there's some media members there to highlight these guys and get them the exposure. But the Icebreaker is just an unbelievably, a great collection of talent from all across the world. It started out with, just having everybody from the Southeast there, but you'll have teams from California come, you'll have teams from, Texas come, teams from Oregon come, and then, of course, like everyone from Georgia, everyone in the Southeast, the Carolinas are all going to be there. And, what the Icebreaker is known for is if you want to see where your team is at, if you think you got a really talented team, that Icebreaker is one of the first events in the year on everybody's schedule. They're going to come here. They're going to compete for a championship. And that Icebreaker trophy means something to grassroots basketball. Now, obviously, the Peach State is maybe the most household name, the most well-known event. It happens in July every year during a live period. And, you know as well as I did that, the Peach State, you'll have 200 teams there. You'll have 100-plus coaches there. Just an unreal time for recruitment, unreal time for exposure. And like I said, if you're not an Adidas or a Nike or an Under Armour team, the best independent teams are all going to meet right here in Augusta, 20 minutes from Peach Jam, and compete at the Peach State. So, those events are really, really big. The NYBL, as the National Youth Basketball League, has grown exponentially over the last 10 years. I don't want to say the exact number, but I know there's at least 10 plus, alumni that are now currently playing in the NBA that started in that middle school league. The grassroots circuit, the shoe companies don't quite control it as much when it gets down to the middle school. So you'll have, your Nike teams, your Adidas team. There's so much talent there. It's honestly unbelievable. But they have events going on, here in Augusta too, but, D.C., Vegas, New Orleans, Gatlinburg, all over the country, he's hosting events. So, that is an unreal deal. And then, independent hoops, that's kind of what Lineage of Champions has morphed into now that, the shoe circuit has kind of came and divided things, is getting those independent teams, finding those, guys that, are not going to go play for the money and this and that, but still have quality level players. Those are the guys that really benefit from those events right there.
And that's just a sample. I talk about Icebreaker in March and Peach State in July. Well, there's events every weekend in between pretty much. And so when it comes to the AAU circuit, high school age, middle school age, everything in between, every weekend, all across the country, where's the best place for people to find all the things that Independent Hoops Lineage of Champions has to offer?
Yeah, our website, independenthoops.com, that'll have a list of everything going on as far as our events and what's coming up, and sign up registrations and everything. Like you'd be surprised how organized everything is laid out with as much stuff as they have going. So, hats off to Damian Key, and we would love to kind of get you guys involved in some of the events. So if you're looking, if you got, a team that, any age group, because we got the NYBL for 2nd grade all the way up to 9th, and then you got independent hoops for 9th grade through 12th grade. So, each year hundreds and hundreds of kids are gonna, go on to play at college that start at these events, and it could be you could be the next one. So.
Yeah. One thing, quick story I'll tell is I remember when Damian called me, I was actually standing outside of, what's that, Swanee?
In Atlanta, Swanee Sports Center. Yeah.
Swanee. I'm standing out there for some reason, and Damian calls me. I was like, hey, this is like 2011, I want to say, 12 maybe. And he gives me the NYBL, and I was like, so basically EYBL for middle schools, and I was kind of like, I don't know about that. I'm not interested in 10 years later, it's a household name, a brand name. He's made such a great deal out of it. So I always joke with him and say, man, you're way smarter than me, Damian. You knew an opportunity when you saw one, and you've served a lot of people through it. You mentioned some of the alumni. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong on any of these. Zion Williamson, Sharif Cooper, R.J. Barrett, Scotty Lewis, and then
Scotty Barnes now that's having an unreal rookie year.
So it's not Lewis, it's Barnes.
Yeah.
There is a Scotty Lewis.
Yeah, there is. Right? I think he was there too.
He was in there too. Yeah, but Scotty Barnes is who I was thinking of. Plays for the Raptors. Yeah, what a circuit, and what a history that thing. And that's like, it's not the newest thing, but it's a relatively new thing.
Absolutely.
Icebreaker and Peach State, and even CSRA All-Star Bowl is even more grounded than.
And the Peach State goes all the way back to when John Wall and them were here. Yes, so I mean, right. The alumni that's come through, Damian and Kelvin's events are just, second to none.
That's so true. So true. Well, I think that's going to do it. You said now, are you living here now, or are you coming here frequently?
Yeah, currently moving up here right now, currently in the process of moving. So, I'll be full-time here in Augusta with, Damian and Lineage of Champions. So looking forward to it. That's awesome. You were telling me you might hit a high school game tonight. It'd be great having an extra set of eyes on the best basketball. Hopefully we'll have you back to talk about what you're seeing out there and update us on the next big event. So, for Glen,
in Lineage of Champions and Independent Hoops, I'll say goodbye, and I'll just encourage you to visit the websites and the social media accounts that we've shown you here today. And then also, once again, I'll encourage you to check out AUG B-Ball on social media, and then also AugustaSportsReport.com for our free email newsletter. Every time we put something up on there, you'll get an email. But also, it also just serves as a website. You know, you can scan through all the articles that we put on there over the months, last several months. And so, thank you for joining us. If you're a repeat visitor, thank you for repeating with us. And if you're a first-time visitor, viewer, make it a habit, make it a weekly thing. The folks here at Augusta Podcasts are really doing a great job putting these shows together. I'm trying to give them good stuff to put together, so they're kind of leading me and dragging me along. We're here at the Allison South headquarters and building, and so these folks are great, and if you're with us, we appreciate it, and we'll try to bring you back next week.
Yeah.